Hey everyone, welcome back to German Driver. My name is Chris. Welcome to the 2015 Porsche Cayman. I thought I would try something a little bit different rather than being a talking head inside the car on a GoPro. I thought I would come outside, get in front of the camera, specifically to go over my observations of the 981 generation Cayman, as well as the differences between the 987 generation Cayman, which is what I had last summer, and of course the new 981 that I have now. Bring you around the car, discuss the differences, discuss some likes and dislikes, get inside the car to show you the interior. The interior is all new for the 981 generation Cayman, and then go for a ride, jump on the GoPro inside the car. That way I'll give you my observations on as far as how it drives, and of course the differences between the 987 and 981 and the way it drives. But first, let's start with the exterior. So let me take 2 seconds to explain the 981 generation Cayman. It came out in 2014 here in the United States. The Boxster actually came out with their 981 generation in 2013, but there was no 2013 Cayman here in the United States. So the car is actually a little bit longer, a little bit wider. The back rear is a little bit more sloped, so you don't have quite the type of bubble that you have with the 987. The bubble look on the top with the canopy. It's more of a sloped look like the 911, which actually I like a lot. Let's see, a lot better wheel choices. You can now go up to actually 20-inch wheels. The wheel wells are a little bit bigger to accommodate 20-inch wheels. In my opinion, it looks a little bit better than the 987. Specifically looking at the side of the car, there was a little bit more dramatic creases going into the air intake. The air intake of the 987 is a little small, and actually it came standard as the grille that was in front of the side intake was actually body color, so it kind of blended in. I'll put up a picture here. I actually painted mine black to actually match the Cayman R, which came out in 2012, just to give the side a little bit more contrast. But here, standard, the air inlet is actually a little bit bigger. It's actually black, and gives a little bit better contrast and kind of breaks up the side of the car a little bit better. The creases also go into the door, which is actually pretty cool. The wheel wells are a little bit bigger, so again, to accommodate the 20-inch wheels, these do have 20-inch Carrera S3 wheels. They look great. They do need a little bit of lowering to them, so I'm looking into that for the future. But otherwise, and again, the way that it slopes back, the rake is a little less compared to the 987. The 987 is more of a bubble look with the top. But the 981 actually slopes back, very similar to a 911. It actually makes the car look a little bit sleeker, in my opinion, rather than like sleek body lines and then a bubble up on top, which kind of what the 987 looks to me. Okay, now looking up the front of the 981, it is actually, in my opinion, dramatically different than the 987. I actually like it a lot better. The 987 kind of looks like it's smiling, it's kind of friendly. This one, especially with the air scoops here in the front, there's a radiator in back of each one of them, it actually looks a little bit more aggressive. Still not quite sold on the round fog lights. And I also don't understand why Porsche decided with the Boxster to give it an LED strip on the top, whereas the Cayman, they kept it with the round fog lights. I don't understand that. The round fog lights are still kind of old school to me. And they also with the GTS, the GTS and the GT4 also have similar air intakes, but again with the LED strip there. And of course, you know, for probably about $4 grand, you can get a GTS front bumper, you know, have it painted with the LED strip there. But otherwise, you're stuck with the round fog lights. The middle is also still a solid piece of plastic, just like the 987. Believe with the GTS, I know with the GT4, but I believe with the GTS there is a third radiator in there, so it is open. But with the Cayman and the Cayman S, it's actually a hard piece of plastic there, just like the original 987. I do have my father's tribute German license plate on the front of the car. It's actually stuck on with Velcro. The tow hook here, I actually have a tow hook license plate holder that I use for the Massachusetts license plate that gets stuck there when I'm driving, but when I'm filming or at an event or something like that, I can just twirl it off and put the cap back on, and it has a nice clean look with a German license plate there. The headlights are also a little different. Mine are, they are the halogen, they're not the bi-xenon, but I like the look with the black interior. They're automatic, they already have the black surround, whereas with my 987 I actually had to get a black piece of vinyl to go around it, and that also mimics the Cayman R look. Otherwise it was like a silver surround. It didn't quite offset from the white, but with the black there it offsets from the white. And hood is a little bit more sloped than the original. Same thing with the windscreen, the windshield here in the United States. Sorry, I watch a lot of British YouTubers, car YouTubers, and I'm used to calling it windscreen. Windshield here in the United States, it is a little bit raked back just a little bit more, again to ease that bubble effect of the 987. And so let's head out to the back. So here on the back of the car, everything from the taillights down is pretty much the same as a 987. The valance is the same. The rear center exhaust port is actually pretty much the same. The single exhaust port on the base Cayman is exactly the same. The Cayman S and other models actually have the dual exhaust ports back there. But everything else is pretty much the same. Here at the taillights are different. They are shaped to actually blend into the rear spoiler here, which is it's a much better look than the actual taillights and then spoiler with the 987. On my 987, the larger Cayman script, I actually plastered it black, which is actually a pretty cool look. I think I'm going to do something similar here, but to match actually the gloss wheels, the gloss black wheels, I'm actually thinking about doing them in gloss black as well, rather than the flat black of the Plastidip. So we'll see what goes on there. And of course the rear spoiler, that goes up at speed. There's also a switch on the inside to raise and lower it if you want as well. But yeah, the rear of the car really hasn't changed from the 987. Now here inside the car, this is where the big transformation of the 981 really comes into play. Really all new interior. This actually mimics the 991 interior for the 911, which actually changed in 2012 for the 911. It was brought over to the 981 generation Boxsters and Caymans as well. So you have a much more flowing center console here, rather than just just the straight down center console and out to the back of the 987. Again, I'll toss up a couple pictures here of the difference. Touchscreen display. Mine does not have nav, but it still has touchscreen. Still works very, very well. Bluetooth for phone calls. Unfortunately, Bluetooth for phone calls only with the base system. You need to upgrade to a higher end system in order to get Bluetooth streaming audio. So actually, I threw in my Pro Clips USA iPhone holder here. This goes into the glove box, which actually has a power outlet and also an aux in. So I just set it on aux when I want to listen to some music or podcast. But the top is different as well as the vents. There are a couple of speakers down here, as well as a couple of tweeters up here for the standard audio system. There are no speakers in the back with the audio system. That's okay, because the car has its own type of music by itself. So I don't listen to music a lot here. I may listen to podcasts every now and then, but not a lot of music. You probably saw on one of my last videos, yeah, the original video that I had when I first originally picked up the 981, I did switch out the steering wheel for the Porsche Sport Design steering wheel, especially on the PDK models, because it actually has the correct shifters here, with the right being up, the left being down, compared to the stock thumb switches of the original the stock steering wheel, so that has been a huge upgrade. Of course, you can tell this is PDK, and we have a sport button here, the rear spoiler up and down. The sport button is actually pretty interesting. It really doesn't do much. I've noticed that the steering tightens up a little bit, the exhaust note is changed a little bit, and the PDK shifts are a little bit more aggressive, but it's not huge. You know, it's not like Sport. There's also a Sport Plus option, which comes with the Sport Chrono package, which actually does have a lot more aggressive types of effects to all around performance of the car. This one does not have that. And what's also cool is on the right hand dash pod here, there's actually an LCD screen, which is nice because there are a bunch of menus that you can use, that you can scroll through with the lever down here, as well as a general information panel, which is what I keep it at all the time, with oil temperature, oil pressure, water temperature, etc., which is very handy. You can also check all the PSI of your tires and all this other stuff. So, and also a surprising amount of options that you can set up for the car, like locking and unlocking the doors if you just want to unlock the single door or unlock everything at once, you know, stuff like that. So that's actually very handy. And an all-new key as well for the 981. It's the key fob. I believe this came out with the 991 Porsche 911 when it came out. Originally they have black sides and a chrome top, but for 15 bucks on eBay you can find these surrounds. Everything just snaps off and snaps back on again, so this actually matches my car. And it just goes into a slot over here, and you're on your way. So that's the interior of the car. So let's take it for a drive. Okay, back in the car. This is the first time I'm actually using a DSLR in the car instead of the GoPro, so much better microphone, although it is bouncing around quite a bit, so forgive me if it bounces around quite a bit, but I'm trying to stay on a nice even road here, and I hope you can hear me okay. Let me roll these guys up. Okay, so, you know, immediately jumping into this, when I went to pick up the car, immediately noticeable as far as how much more refined and how much more comfortable the 981 generation is. That's not to say that it's not less aggressive, it's not less, the handling isn't any less, it's not mushy or anything like that, but it's just, it is a lot more comfortable. So yes, it is quicker than my 987. My 987, I believe, was at about 250 horsepower. This one's at 275, although the torque really hasn't gone up a lot compared to the 987. Tossing it around corners, body roll, stuff like that. It is, there really is not much of a difference. It doesn't feel bigger. It is a bigger car, it doesn't feel bigger, which is great. The steering, now there is a new, I believe it's an electronically assisted steering with the 981 generation. It is different. It's different but not worse, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Something similar happened, I believe, with a GTI a generation or two ago that I noticed as well. Okay, transmissions. I can't compare transmissions between the two cars because I had a manual and the 987, and I have the PDK and the 981 here. I have used many generations of the DSG dual clutch in the Volkswagens that I've had. And the PDK really is just that much better. Like I mentioned in 2 videos ago, the upshifts are much more crisp, the downshifts are a little bit more aggressive with a little bit of rev match. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear this, but the downshifts are great. So very, very happy with the PDK. I know that it's very, very divisive as far as PDK manual, especially in a Porsche, but I don't care. This is me. This is my car. This is how I drive it. With my type of driving in the area that I drive in, you know, let me tell you, you know, putting it in drive is so very convenient to do. Also, I just also want to mention that as well as the Volkswagen in my GTIs, there is a you know, there's a sport button. The last two generations, with putting it in sport by keeping it in drive, not in manual shifting, but keeping it in drive. The Volkswagen is, I never put it in sport mode in regular drive because it really wasn't, how should I say? It really wasn't programmed very well, in my opinion. It would really scream out until like about 4,000 or 5,000 RPM when you really weren't even pushing down the gas. With just regular acceleration, it would wait until 4,000 or 5,000 RPM before shifting, and that was really kind of annoying. And it would downshift pretty high as well. Which all I really was looking for when I have it in sport, in regular drive, is just a little bit more aggressive, you know, of course the steering feel and everything else like that I want as the sport. But as far as the shifting, I wanted a little bit more aggressive than regular drive, but not all out nuts. And that's what Volkswagen did. Now, this one, I have it every time I put it in drive, which is actually very rare, but if I'm in traffic and I put it in drive, I always put it in sport. One, because there is a little bit better exhaust note. Two, because the shifts are actually perfect. It's like, you know, between 3,000, 4,000, all depends on how much you're mashing the gas. It knows if you want to shift quickly, it knows if you want to shift, if you want to keep on going and rev it out a little bit. It's just that much more intelligent than the dual clutch, the DSG in the Volkswagen. Now, as far as comfort goes, the 981 just completely owns the 987 as far as comfort. You have a little bit bigger of a cabin, a little bit more headroom, although that's obviously not a problem with me. I'm only 5'7", so that's no problem. But you know, with people who are taller than me, or if you say you wanted to go and do a little bit of autocrossing or something like that, you have to toss on a helmet. Yeah, there's so much more room in the 981. The suspension is a little bit more comfortable without being mushy. The controls are a lot better laid out. I do like the touchscreen. I've been used to touchscreens in my last you know, couple generation GTI, so it's nice to have this here. The climate control is laid out very well, as as the center console here. Like I mentioned earlier, the LCD screen here on the third pod to the right of the dash here is actually very, very useful. So much information that you can toss up there and have while you're driving. There are a few more selections as far as the headlights go. We have, I can set it to auto. It can come on, you know, whenever there's a sensor here up above the rearview mirror, so we can put it on auto. It comes on automatically. There's also rear fog lights, which is funny because you really only see that in the European versions of cars. One popular mod to do on the Volkswagen side is to actually buy the European version of the taillights, which come with a fog light. It's not sold like that here in the United States, so it's kind of actually funny to see it on the Porsche side to be a standard feature on the US version of the Cayman. So, okay, I think I've talked too much. To sum up the video, totally in love with the 981. It's something that I should have waited and just gotten in the first place, instead of being impatient last year and grabbing the 987. Although I did have a good time with that last year, it just really wasn't the car for me. So, highly recommend a 981. If you can't quite pull off a 911, you really can't go wrong with a 981. So much more affordable. The mid-engine is excellent. I really don't see how Porsche can avoid bringing the 911 to the mid-engine side of things. It's definitely where things need to go for the 911. But anyways, you know, thanks again for sticking around. I hope you liked the video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for subscribing, and I will talk to you soon. See ya.